The one for 16 Folger Ave, we approved last meeting. We need signatures for 16 Folger. We need signatures from all three of you. And we need signatures for all three for if we approve the milestone one. And then the other one we'll need to see the North Point one if we approve those two. So we don't run out before we sign. Considering we're all itching to go to the beach out there too.
We're on.
We got a big audience.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the June 28, 2018 Board of Health meeting. We have a couple members absent, Malcolm and Helene. I will be replacing Malcolm as chair today to run the meeting. Before we get started, just want to remind everybody that this meeting is being visually and done by audio also. Since we don't have any public comment, nobody here, we'll move on to the review of the minutes.
So I reviewed the minutes and I'd make a motion to be approved.
Second.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Director's report, Roberto.
So this one was, there hasn't been much that has happened since last meeting. I was out for 2 weeks for class. I was in Baltimore working on the Summer Institute. We've all the restaurants have been permitted and they're up and running. Everyone who's renewed, we should all be set. We still have a few stragglers on their pools, on pool permitting, but everything else has been running pretty smoothly. Nothing too big on fertilizer. We have everyone's kind of fallen online, so we've been really happy with our fertilizer inspections this year. And then today, speaking of which, we met with Jeff Carlson and I met with NCTV, and we filmed the first introductory piece for a series on a video series on issues regarding our harbor and water quality health and groundwater health. So it's that introductory. It was funded by the Land Council. So we will be doing a series of fertilizer trainings, and then from there, Jeff will do a few things on the harbor. I will do a few things on septic systems and groundwater, so that we can just have these video series. There'll be 2 to 3 minute videos each, and then we can run them as PSAs. We can have them on the website, and it's going to be a really good process. And the fertilizer one we can use as the actual training for them. So it's going to be a double hit. So it's going to be a good one. We got that ball rolling today. And other than that, we're in really good shape. We're in the throes of the summer, looking to plan the regulations forum for the first meeting in August, so that we can get an overview of all the things we have looked into and how we've enforced and everything throughout the year. So we're just looking forward to that, and that's really it for today.
So we talked about developing the criteria and guidelines for the loan program, and you were going to do that. I think have that. So
yes,
we can implement that with the next tranche of funding.
My apologies. That's so you're absolutely correct. My apologies. I should have had that done for this meeting.
And could you send that out?
Yes.
To the board when you have that?
Absolutely. Criteria for the.
Because I think so. This would be for funding for the next fiscal year, right? That we want
for the next million when we request it.
Oh, it's not fiscal year, it's million.
Yeah, it's for the next million. Right now, we still have around $370,000
Okay.
of the previous million.
Do we already have the limit of the loan in place? Do we?
No,
No, we do not.
have
That's-
any limits.
We don't have any?
Yeah, we hadn't set the limits yet.
Okay,
I was
fine.
supposed to bring that this meeting, and
Yep.
I dropped the ball on that.
That's okay,
absolutely,
no
you're
problem.
absolutely right. Thank you, Jim, for reminding me on that one.
Thanks.
Loan request, 3 North Point.
So it's a straightforward loan. They're looking to put in the IA system in the Warren's Landing area. I believe the breakdown of the loan was in the packet. Yes, yeah, the percentage is in the packet. So it's looking pretty straightforward. 83% of the loan is going straight to the cost of the system, which is what we like to see. It's when the landscaping becomes the big spend is when we don't like that. So we recommend approval on this one.
Could I have a motion to approve? Or-
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now I have the signature packet for after the meeting.
Okay, release of a loan.
Yes, so in this case, the CFC for this one has been issued. Everything seems to be in order, so we're looking
What does
to...
CFC mean?
Certificate of compliance for the
Okay.
septic system. So everything is set, and this loan should be completed. So we're just looking to sign it off so that we can register it with the Registry of Deeds. It's one of the best newses that we have.
So do we have to vote on that, or? No.
Unfortunately, we do.
Okay.
Because we voted it in to put it onto the registry, we have to also vote to remove it from the registry. We have to sign it as part of a quorum.
Okay.
Now, it's the
Remove
process.
it from, I'm confused, remove it from the registry, so,
Yes, so what we've done is, for example, we vote to give them the money.
Right.
And as part of that, we vote as a quorum, and the quorum signature gets registered in the land bank, in the Registry of Deeds. So in order to release that, to say, we received all of our money, you're good to go.
I see, so it's like a lien or something?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Okay. So I'd make a motion that we approve the release of loan request.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chairman says aye. Okay, another variance request for 7 Arkansas.
Yes, this is an IA system that's going to be put in, fully permitted. It's maximum feasible compliance. The only issue is because it's a small location where they're looking to put the reserve area. They're looking for a setback variance. We have no objections.
Okay, no
What do
problem.
you think?
Yeah, I looked at it earlier.
Okay.
Okay, looks good.
So I'd make a motion that we approve the variance request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chairman says aye.
Okay.
Emergency condemnation, 60 Macy, Marianne.
Marianne. So this was one of those houses that we've been on and trying to get into. We've been receiving complaints about it, but nobody had left us in. We finally received a complaint from one of the tenants, and we did an inspection. There were 4 bedrooms in the basement that had bunks in it, so we had 8 people living in an unpermitted basement apartment with no secondary means of egress. So we ended up having to do the emergency condemnation of it. The basement, as of today, was emptied. We did see, and there's nobody living in the basement. However, it is still not up to human habitation standards. So we're asking that you ratify the condemnation with the condition that we will lift the condemnation once it's properly permitted and meets habitation code.
Is it just there's just bedrooms down there, no bathrooms, no nothing?
It was just bedrooms. They were using the bathroom upstairs.
Well, okay.
Under what circumstances could it be permitted?
It's caused to go through the building permit process. They didn't have fire alarms.
Proper size windows?
Proper sized windows.
I mean, yeah,
Second means of egress.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of work to be done.
absolutely.
Okay, so it's
Absolutely.
not, so you sounded like it was maybe imminent, but,
In that case, every window has to have an escape
yeah,
Correct. Correct.
with a
because
ladder
it's
going
fully
up
below
ground
grade.
level. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yes.
If they wanted to
Yeah.
go through the process. right?
Exactly. So the zoning there allows for them to properly finish the basement to make it habitable, which is why we've put that caveat on. It's not like an area that's on a septic that they're limited. They can finish it to make it habitable. They have the window wells for it. It's just, it's not finished to human habitation
Oh,
standards.
they have the window wells and everything?
They had window wells in some, but they were blocked up. The windows were still too small.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine.
And they didn't have
Right.
the ladders,
Right.
and they didn't have fire extinguishers, and the walls were put up without permitting, so we don't know if the electrical was done correctly.
Okay.
So they need to permit it to make
Right.
sure it's done correctly,
Okay.
So we need a motion to basically keep the condemnation.
Yeah, to ratify it.
In place.
So make a motion to ratify the condemnation.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chairman says aye.
How many people were living down there?
8.
So there's now 8 people homeless, not homeless, but don't have a place to live. So this is, I mean,
They
if you're a
just- They
tenant.
just move, they get up and they move to another building.
No, but if you're a tenant, the consequences of you raising your hand and saying you're living in uninhabitable
Right.
Yes.
conditions are tough. So,
It's
but
it's the biggest issue we deal with.
yeah.
Um,
Because this isn't, I mean, there's ones that pop up for every one we,
I know.
slam down, so.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
thank you.
it's very unfortunate, and it's the nature of the housing crisis on an island. If this was a housing crisis in central Massachusetts, they can move to an adjacent area, but in this case,
It's, options are limited here.
very.
Okay, Surfside Crossing?
Yes, so there was a select board meeting yesterday where they were discussing the Surfside Crossing letter for the 40B application. The comment period was extended, so on behalf of the board, I sent a few comments to the select board, but I'm asking if you want me to add anything else to it at this meeting for the next comment, since the comment period was extended. It's not in the packet, but I'll go ahead and read them here. The first comment that I released was that the entire property is within the wellhead protection district, which is our zone 2 of our wellhead, which was also brought up by our own zoning board, and it was also brought up by Mark at the water company. So it is a sole source aquifer, and any decrease of permeability should be mitigated by the addition of groundwater infiltrators and bioretention areas to minimize diversion of groundwater recharge. The second comment I wrote was that increased permeable surfaces also increase stormwater runoff that leads to potential flooding in the adjacent areas, and that all on-site stormwater infiltration and oil water separation with routine monitoring must be located on-site to prevent contamination of any groundwater. The third comment was that before, during, and after construction, steps need to be taken to minimize any rodent scattering because of habitat disturbances to prevent any issues in the adjacent lands, and that an integrated pest management program must be adhered to at all times by the developer and manager of the property. The fourth one was due to its location in the wellhead protection district that any landscaping practices must adhere to local fertilizer, herbicide, fungicide, and pesticide regulations, including those set forth by Mass DEP, and that a landscape management plan must be kept on site at all times and is subject to audit by our personnel. And the fifth comment was due to its proximity to the adjacent bicycle paths and the expected increase in traffic, that an impact assessment on pedestrian safety should be performed before construction and approval, or design approval and construction. And the last one was that all housing units must meet and be maintained in accordance to the minimum standards for human habitation. Because one of the issues that we've been running into with the other apartment complexes is once they've been built, it's okay, they're built now. anyone can rent it, and we ended up getting overcrowding complaints already, where people are renting out a studio and putting 6 beds in there. So it's by making it required that whoever the management plan is to keep an eye on it, we can hold the manager responsible and not just whoever owns the property, which is usually some conglomerate that we can never get any response from. Would you like me to add anything else? If there's anything of concern from a Board of Health perspective?
There's no input from the sewer department, I mean, of that amount of,
Every department has put in a lot of comments. All the comments that were put in by the departments are in the select board's packet from last night.
okay,
The sewer department commented, fire department commented, zoning, planning, I believe police, health, and DPW have all submitted comments.
As far as the public health aspect, I think that's pretty good.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Jim, is there anything you would like to add on this, because you were there yesterday? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I'll try to elaborate on this, especially the wellhead protection area. That's our biggest part of concern, because it's the zone 2 of the wellhead of our only aquifer. I'm not comfortable with putting so many. It's increasing so much density, and they're requesting for, I think it was 58% of impermeable surface. That's huge. On a 14-acre parcel, that's 7 acres of impermeability.
wow.
That increases so much flooding potential that I believe that the risk is just way too much. So I'm going to try to elaborate more on the wellhead and get you a copy of what it is I write.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
That greater area, is that what the parking would, how much of that would be parking? I mean, how much over is that than what they actually need?
That's a good question. There was a question yesterday of what the actual calculation was, and
Right.
The planning board didn't have it on hand, and they're going to do a full calculation on that and get back to the board with it.
Based on the density that they're projecting, they do not have adequate parking. So in fact, if they added the parking that they probably need, then it would even be worse.
Wow.
Because they put, I think it's 2 cars per single-family dwelling, and I think which is similar to what Satchen's Path is. And what's happened in Satchen's Path is there's parking all over the place.
Right.
They have a lot more than 2 cars per, and these single-family homes are up to 5 bedrooms, 5-bedroom homes.
Wow.
And to put it in perspective on the flooding aspect, by making it impermeable, for 7 acres approximately of impermeable surface, for every 3 inches of rain, that is 533,000 gallons that is not being absorbed, that will now have to be absorbed by adjacent land. So that's for every 3 inches of rain. So if we get a major storm that drops 6 inches, that's over 1 million gallons that's being displaced due to the impermeability. So it's significant. It's significant. So that's one of those issues that's the calculation that I'm looking to put into the comment.
Wow.
That's good. Signatures required, do you want us to do that now?
Yes, we have it on here just so that we can, as a reminder that we voted on this at last meeting, and that not to forget to get the signatures before you leave. And that should be it. I should put one question on that, not on this one, but for the future agendas. Would you like me to put right before adjournment, comments by the board members, so that in case, just like in the select board, there's a committee report, I believe that it'd be a good idea to have comments and questions from board members. Anything that you would like me to follow up on in the coming month, Jim, thank you for the reminder on that criteria. I'm sorry I missed it.
You all think so?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's kind of, it's a way for us to,
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
because it's like to last night, I was, because we had that agenda item, I remembered that every year we do a review of all the lawsuits facing the town, and we hadn't done that, so I just put that in as a comment, and now they're going to follow up and do that, so it was just a nice little reminder.
And when I saw that yesterday, I thought we should do that. So,
The only thing about this whole thing, about that bothers me is when the developers walk out the door, there's got to be a condo association of a board of people that are there. And how are you going to hold their hands to the fire for all these things that we said has to happen in that development? That's the part of the thing that bothers me.
in rental units, it's a little bit easier because there's usually a management corporation that's in charge of the rental property. But in an area like Sachem's, it's up to the homeowners to maintain a homeowners association.
Right, but it's required by statutory law.
But it is required by law.
Right.
Right.
So a perfect example is even in my own neighborhood, we have a homeowners association that hasn't met in 2 years. So,
No, we have one where I live. In fact, I'm on the board, and we hold people's feet to the fire for everything.
Yes, you do.
that's the good thing to do.
No, we do. We do, believe me.
Sure.
Which is accurate.
Where do you live? I don't want to move there.
Out in Tom Rivers East. No, we do. I mean,
Sorry.
you know, we don't allow people to park out off the street on the sides of the road at all
Absolutely.
overnight. We don't allow it.
No, that's perfect. And it's good to always have at least one member of the board to be a watchdog. In my neighborhood, it's Mr. Ramos.
Yeah.
He notices people when they park in the cul-de-sac, and he
Well,
just,
that's the way I feel, you know. I don't mind being the bad guy on the board because my property's there and I live there. I've been there for 25 years and I don't want to see it,
Right.
you know, go anywhere but up.
absolutely,
And it's a slippery slope.
absolutely.
No, I mean,
Yeah, once you start, so.
yeah.
we have one guy in there now that owns a landscaping business. He tries to park 4, 5, 6 trucks overnight out on the street, you know, and we're going to take him to court.
That's perfect. And the fact that your bylaws allow for that
Yep.
is something that other associations should take
Yeah.
heed from. We've had an issue on Trip Drive, for example, where they tried to take a person to court for it because they've issued notices and things like that, and then they've come to find out that in their own regulations they didn't have an enforcement clause,
Right.
and they couldn't do it. So,
If it's- At any given time, at any subdivision that's created, you can actually go back and ask the planning board to reopen the hearing.
and that's what we recommended to them, to reactivate their HOA and do a bylaw request change and do the whole thing.
Right.
But it's basically starting from scratch, and it's difficult. So,
So I think we're at the end. Okay, a motion to adjourn.
I'm all set.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
That was quick.
it was a good, straightforward.
22 minutes, 23.
Yeah. Too bad it's raining. We still get some sun.
Is it raining?
Took longer to get here than
Right.
Oh, man. When I walked in.
So you have those signatures?
Yes. So these are the signatures. If you can sign on your name here, and then.
I can tell them.
Oh, so I'm Rick Atherton.
Oh, it says Rick Atherton on there, so.
I've been telling some of the people in the new Sachems to, this subdivision's only gonna be as good as the association being active.
You're
So
absolutely
don't
right.
be afraid to
Yep.
say you're gonna meet and speak up, you're gonna meet.
Yeah, Sage